Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the 22nd episode of the Sporting Updates podcast. I'm your host, Sam Fonseca, and today I'm joined by... Did you hear that, Danny?
Hello? Oh, you cut off for a bit. My bad.
Yeah, Steph rang me, so I assume Steph's ready. I'll invite him again. But anyway, I said we're joined by you, and asked how you were. So
I'm good, man. I'm good. Glad to be on another podcast. How are you doing, Sam?
Mate, I am thrilled after yesterday's result. It was a bit of what's the word? Like raise of blood pressure at some points, but got the win in the end. That's all that matters, really. And we will be joined by Steph later, hopefully soon. I'll just invite him. Just bear with me for 2 seconds.
But yeah, man, yesterday, typical Sporting, bro. Always having to make us suffer, you know?
Tell me about it. That was one of the most, even though people say, it's just the Task of the League and it's not that much of a big deal, my heart was going through the roof at some points in that match.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, it's still a game against Porto, and it's still a title you can win at the end of the league. You know what I mean? So it's still an important game.
Yeah, and credit to Porto. I thought they played pretty well. It's just that they couldn't score. Our defense was a bit off as well. So it's not like I thought it was pretty even in terms of defending, but obviously Porto had more chances than we did. So, But at the end of the day, it's all that matters at the end of the result, not the stats. So credit to Porto, like I said, but the better team won, I think. And speaking of, Steph.
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing?
How are you? I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm driving.
Okay, that's fine. I hope you're not texting and driving there. Okay, so I had before we get into the two games, I have a question to ask both of you, not from Twitter, but it's just a question, a true or false question, and it's about Ruben Ribeiro. And I'll start with you, Danny. And the question is, Ruben Ribeiro is not sporting quality. True or false?
I'm gonna say false. It's a little too early to tell. I think my only issue with Ruben Ribeiro is he falls off more towards the second half. He'll have a really good first half, and then second half, these last 2 games or 3 games that he's had, he's went ghost in the second half. Hopefully with integrating more within the squad and stuff like that, understanding more of his role at Sporting, that'll change. But when he does play well, especially in the first half of each of these games that he's played, he shows that he has the quality that he can take on a defender and make space for himself. So I'm going to say false. I think he's Sporting quality.
Fair enough. Steph, what is your take on that statement?
Well, I'm going to say false as well. I mean, he only played 2 games. I mean, I know it was 3 games, but all combined together, all the minutes, it's only 2 games. And, yeah, of course, he's a great player, but it's a brand new teammates, a different tactic, a different coach. But he's got the rhythm. So, and JJ wanted someone with fresh ideas. He'll be fine. Just give it some time. I mean, for God's sake, Portuguese, we qualified to the final, the League Cup, so that's pretty good. But yeah, it's false.
Fair enough. I agree with you both. I don't think we can write him off yet. I say give him maybe another month or a month and a bit, and if he continues to struggle, I don't see the problem with the statement. But I think 3 games in is a bit early to judge any player, let alone one who's come from a team like Rio Ave and has to adapt to, no disrespect to Rio Ave, obviously, but a much bigger team with much bigger laurels than Rio Ave, and that's, I think we'd expect that for any player to make that switch. So, we didn't get any Twitter questions, so we're going to go straight onto the Sunday's game review, which was against Setúbal, and obviously it was a 1-1 draw in which goals from Bruno Fernandes and Edinho from a penalty. The lineup was as followed: Rui Patricio in goal, Cristiano Piccini, Jeremy Mateu, Sebastian Coates, Fabio Coentrão, Bruno Fernandes, William Carvalho, Ruben Ribeiro, Marcos Cunha, Gelson Martins, and Bas Dost. Steph, what were your thoughts on the game against Setúbal?
I think the game against. I'm muting my mic when I'm not talking, so to avoid the noise.
Yeah, that's fine.
Traffic. Yeah. So today I did a little bit of overtime, and I couldn't say no because they pay me well when I say on overtime.
I know the feeling.
So yeah, so talking about $90 an hour. So.
Okay, I don't know the feeling anymore.
I've never known that feeling before in my life. Not even
anyway,
half of it.
let's go on with Sporting update. So the game against Setúbal, to tell the truth, I was very content until the final 30 seconds of the game. Sporting created a lot of opportunities. We could have won 4-1. Let's accept that goal because that was a penalty, and we end up tying the game because fast forward to the end of it, because the whole game Sporting dominated. It wasn't pretty, but we created so many chances. Bas Dost, instead of passing the ball, he should have taken a shot. Bruno Fernandes missing the second goal. I mean, you name it, we had a lot of chances. The goalie was superb, And then the defense, I know, I saw Twitter, I just couldn't believe it. I know JJ messed up in the substitutes because it was way too late. But besides that, let's be totally honest. One that messed up at the end, the last 30 seconds, it was our defense. I don't know what Piccini was doing. I don't know what Kawata was doing. Mathieu was doing. I'm not going to blame Fabio Cointran because he was too far left. Players, they fell asleep. I think they were walking towards the exit of the stadium, if I'm not mistaken. If you look at the play carefully, they already gave up, thinking, "Oh, the ref is gonna end the game." And then Edinho, he ran 30 meters by himself, for God's sake. 30 meters. Whatever excuses you guys want to come up with, go ahead, come up with excuses. But the sole fault was our defense. Because there's a lot of games that we only going to win 1-0. Porto did it the next day. They won against Tondela 1-0. They don't even know how. It was amazing. But they won 1-0. They found a way to win 1-0. And we need to find a way to win 1-0. Because it happened against Olympiacos in Greece. It happened against Barcelona. It happened against Juventus. Enough is enough. You have to stay focused for 90 minutes and plus. There's a statistic out there on Twitter that it's in the last 15 minutes of the game, we suffered 17 goals. The last 15 minutes. It means that our team is not focused. And maybe JJ's to blame not to do the substitutions a little bit earlier, and now he's paying a really high price. Well, Jesse Martins, he might be out for a few weeks because he stressed out the kid, he pushed him to his limits, and now he's hurt. So that's what I got to say about the game. The game actually, we dominated the game, we played well, but we didn't know how to keep the 1-0 because our defense fell asleep. And I blame our defense on this one. That's all I got to say.
Fair enough. I just want to get to your point, because I was one of them people who blamed George Jesus about the thing. And I wasn't blaming George Jesus because of the defending and the penalty. I was blaming George Jesus because he could have wrapped that. I know you're talking about 1-0, but if he made substitutions earlier, there was Ruben Rivero looked lost out there. I thought we did dominate the game, but there were so many chances. Even Bas Dost, I reckon, he could have been brought off. The tweet I said, if we have a striker that doesn't want to score, he'll be 1-on-1 with the keeper. That really annoyed me. He tried to square it, I think it was to Bruno Fernandes, then blames Bruno Fernandes for not being ready. But in Bruno Fernandes' defence, you're a striker. Oh, he obviously thinks you're going to score. I'm pretty sure everyone thought, we saw Bas Dost in that position. Oh, yeah, it's another goal. But I wasn't blaming George Jesus that we drew the game. I was just saying that he could have made substitutions earlier, which could have wrapped up the game. I believe Podence was on the bench. I can't remember off the top of my head. We had probably Brian Ruiz, which I believe he brought on, and Bruno Cesar. Even those would have changed the game if they came on a bit earlier. But for me, the defense was at fault. I don't blame Mateo. A lot of people say Mateo shouldn't have given away the penalty, but it's either give away the penalty or score a goal. And I think Edinho was going to score anyway, so I'm not going to blame Mateo on the penalty. However, I agree with Steph saying it was the entire defender's fault. High defense bar coming trial that the goal was conceded. They all looked like they'd given up. I think they tried to play the offside trap, but they played it a bit too late, which obviously didn't help things. And the penalties against Situal, we had one I remember last year. Pretty much, I think it was literally the same time as well, where Edinho converted from the spot. And I said this last podcast that we always struggle against this team away, and I think to give away such an easy goal for something that we worked hard for all game just to keep the 1-0 was devastating. And I think if we want to be champions, we can't be drawing games like this. These are must-win games. Every game is a must-win. But we can't expect to beat Porto, Benfica, and draw to teams like Moreirense or Setúbal. It's just got to be all wins, and I think that's what we lack. We lack the killer instinct to kill games off. Like I said, Bastos had opportunities. When Gelson Martinez played Ruben Ribeiro through, and Ruben Ribeiro had that awful touch and just completely killed the move dead in the water. You got Gelson Martinez when he was in the box, instead of trying to shoot, he tries to do the roulette and he falls over. We lack killer instinct, and I think that's maybe the problem. Now we've got Montero coming back. He came on against Porto. That I think we might have that killer instinct back again. Someone that can actually score goals as well as assist. But just on that game, I feel like we did dominate, but I feel like we were poor in finishing our chances, and a poor, when you look back on it, a poor game from, I think, a lot of the players out there. Anyway, Danny, what did you think of the game? Danny?
Sorry, I was talking when didn't notice it was muted. Yeah, I agree with both of you. I do think the defense is at fault for sure, but I think JJ is just as fault. Like you said, his first substitution came in the 80th something minute, and it was for Bataglia for Ruben Ribeiro, and I was at home. I mean, I would have subbed off Ruben Ribeiro maybe 20 minutes earlier. I also think Piccini didn't have himself a great game. I think he was also at fault for the penalty towards the end. I just don't understand how we're winning 1-0 and our defensive line is that high. I understand we're maybe looking for the 2-0, but in the 90th minute, I don't think you risk it and push the defense up that high, especially even if you're looking for the offside trap. It's too late in the game to risk that. I do blame Mathieu. I think Mathieu could have done better there. I don't think he necessarily needed to give up the foul because the penalty was sort of at the top of the box. Excuse me. And so I think, he by the time he was there at the top of the box, he was sort of next to Edinho. I think if he cuts off that angle and shows Edinho to the near side, to Rui Patriciu's near post, I think we have whether they score or not, I think he has a better chance of saving that near post shot than Patriciu had of saving the penalty. So I think the whole defense is at fault for sure. The fact that we had such a high line, I think JJ's at fault for, Bataglia coming in the 85th minute is ridiculous. We're supposed to be shutting that game out. I think Ruben Ribeiro wasn't effective after the second half, or in the second half, so Bataglia should have came in a lot sooner. Or Province, if you wanted to keep on attacking, Province could have come on a lot sooner. Gelson Martins was visibly fatigued. He could have left sooner. I already mentioned Piccini. Piccini had one bad pass to Rui Patriciu in that game towards the 40th, 44th minute, something like that, where he passes it to Patriciu and the Setúbal attacker almost gets to it too. And then he sort of pulls up, he's holding his hamstring or his thigh for a bit and then ends up playing on. At that point, I would have subbed off Piccini and put in Ristovski, not even to risk an injury to Piccini, but more so Piccini didn't have himself a good game. I think He should have came off for Ristovski. I think a lot of things could have done better. JJ could have done better in hindsight. But overall, like Steph said, we did create enough chances to win this game. It could have been at least 3-1. There was that chance that you already mentioned, Bas Dost. Instead of passing it, he should have shot it. I don't understand. This is the second or third time he's done that this season. Like, fucking shoot the fucking ball. Like, you're a striker. You have a decent shot. Like, take a chance, man. Bruno, it would be hard for Bruno Fernandes to understand that you're passing the ball to him. And then there's that one, beautiful play from Bruno Fernandes where he gets by 2-3 defenders and just unluckily hits the post. So we definitely had enough chances to win. It was harsh. The tie was harsh for us, but at the same time, that stupid mistake towards the end, which has become habitual at Sporting, especially the last 2 seasons, giving up late goals. It has to stop, and it has to stop now. And that's really what cost us the 3 points was the lack of concentration and from our defenders, and just, I don't know, not JJ maybe not refreshing the squad sooner. And that's my take on the Setúbal game.
Okay, so I'm going to ask both of you, and I'll obviously give my input. Your man of the match, your worst performer, and how you think we can improve for the next league game. So I'll start off with you, Danny. Best performer, worst performer, and how do you think we can combat this next week?
My best performer will be Bruno Fernandes. Gelson's maybe a close second because he also had a decent game. He gave the assist to Bruno Fernandes, but Bruno Fernandes was lights out. He was attacking. He was defending well. He gave us the goal from that perfect run. He read Gelson's play perfectly, and he could have got us a second. So, I think Bruno Fernandes is our man of the match. My worst performer, I was going to give it to Mathieu just from that one mistake, but I think that's kind of harsh. I'll give it to Acuna because Acuna was really pissing me off. He had like 3 or 4 shots from outside the box that didn't necessarily need to be shot. There was maybe that one where the goalie was off his line, where I kind of understand maybe why he shot it there, but there was 3 or 4 ridiculous shots that were unnecessary and just gave up possession. So I think he was the worst performer. And then I think we need a. The only thing we really need to improve for the next game is our awareness for the entirety of the game. And JJ needs to improve on understanding when his team needs a change, when players aren't becoming effective throughout the game. Like Ruben Ribeiro in the second half wasn't as effective as he was in the first half. Gelson Martins in the second half wasn't as effective as he was in the first half. Piccini had a terrible game, and he had Ristovski on the bench he could have subbed him off for. There was a few subs he could have made to refresh the squad that I think would have improved the squad or helped the squad out and given us the 3 points. So I think it's just awareness, and JJ needs to wake the fuck up at times.
Fair enough. Steph, best performer, worst performer, and how you would improve in the next game?
Well, most definitely the best performer was, without any doubts, Bruno Fernandes. He played an amazing game. He's becoming more and more important at Sporting. He's the brain of the whole midfield. You saw it yesterday against Porto. Of course, the worst player for me by far too was Piccini, and maybe he had something to do, like Danny said, with his on the first half he grabbed his leg. Second half, and I agree with you guys. Don't understand why Ristovski, when he has proven that he's a valid choice. That really pissed me off, because in my heart, we'll never know, we'll never find out. If Ristovski was on the pitch in the second half at the end, I don't think Edinho would have had so much space. So we'll never know, of course, but for God's sake, if you have a healthy player on the bench and there's one on the pitch that's complaining, take him off. Same with Gelson Martins. Gelson Martins is our most important player, but he's been hurt. I've been following the news. Record, bola, o jogo, they've been saying he's taking care of Gelson Martins com pinças. Carefully. JJ knows about that. So why force Gelson Martins when you have Podence? When you have other players that you can put into the pitch? I don't understand, JJ. Some those players that possibly they could get hurt for real and stay out for weeks and weeks or months. So the worst performer was Piccini, and the top performer was Bruno Fernandes. And what was the other question?
What will you do to improve for the next league game?
I think, yesterday, you realized that Gelson Martins was not in good shape. He removed him right away. He took him off subs much earlier. He didn't wait until the end. I think the last one was Montero. Made the change himself, and that's what I do. I agree with Danny. I agree with you and most Portuguese. Do your substitutions much earlier, again, to burn time. That's reacting like small teams. If you have bench, play them. Don't wait until one of our most important players, like Gelson Martins, gets hurt, and it happened yesterday.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with both of you. Bruno Fernandes was by far our best player. He didn't give up for the whole game. A lot of people thought Cohen Charles our best player because he showed some emotion at the end. Obviously no one likes to concede like that, and the manner of which we did. But for me, it's still Bruno Fernandes. He is the spark in such an awful attack that we had that game. And my worst player, I agree with Danny as well, it goes to Acuna. So he had 5 shots in the whole game, all from outside the box, none on target. That's not all we need from a winger. That's what we need. We don't need that from anyone, but especially a winger who's supposed to provide good service to Bas Dost or whoever the striker may be at that point. I think he's resembling what Joel Campbell was last year, who just used to take shots from anywhere, hit and hope they'd go in. But, I really think that he is, the last few games, Acuna has been absolutely terrible. And I think maybe Podence, because I know he's injured, coming back from an injury, or even, Brian Ruiz, as much as I dislike the guy starting, that maybe Acuna needs to be taught a lesson that he's not always a guaranteed starter. But to improve for the next game, honestly, I think we need to make some changes to that lineup. I really want to see Freddie Montero start behind Bas Dost and move Bruno Fernandes down next to William Carvalho, because I think Ruben Ribeiro he had a great debut, and then the 2 games after, I feel like has already contributed much. So yeah, hopefully Montero will get the start, or even someone like Podence if he's back, but just someone to improve the attacking prowess of the team. Okay, so leading on, we will go on to a review of yesterday's game against Porto, which ended in a penalty shootout, which Brian Ruiz converted the winning penalty to send Sport into the final. And that lineup was exactly the same as the one against Portugal, but I'll just remind you in case you forgot. So it's Rui Patricio in goal, Piccini, Mateu, Coates, Coentrao, Bruno Fernandes, William Carvalho, Ruben Ribeiro, Marcos Acuna, Gelson Martins, and Bas Dost. Who should I start? Oh, Steph, what did you think of the Porto game yesterday?
Okay, so before we go into the Sporting game, not the Porto's game, I got to say 2 things. No, that's cool. If you want to start your own podcast talking about Porto, by all means, go ahead. I'm only kidding.
This guy with the shade, Steph, chill out.
Jeez. Gonna drop a diss track on me soon. Damn.
Anyway, two quick things before we move on. Acuna, let's not forget, my man Acuna didn't have any vacation. The championship in Argentina stops now.
Yeah, but there's no excuse for that performance. I don't care. If you take 5 shots from outside the box and none of them go on target, there's not an excuse of rest.
Okay, I don't blame him, though. I blame JJ because he's not managing properly. The guy's exhausted, man. That, number 1. Number 2, we have Ruben Ribeiro. He can play on the left wing, too. Left wing in Riwab. So that could be an option, and an interesting one, too. And then last but not least, about the PK against us and against Tubal, let's get it out of the way. That was a PK. No doubts about that.
Yep, definitely.
100%.
Penalty.
I don't think anybody's denying that here.
Yeah, well, if it was Benfica, they would still say it was not a PK. Really quick.
Fair enough.
William Carvalho stood in front of the ball. He was the closest one to the direct kick. He could have stood in front of the ball and not taken the kick so fast. That yesterday Montero in the same play, similar play to the box of Sporting, a Porto player wanted to kick the ball. He didn't let him. That's called experience. If William Carvalho bugged the guy and he stayed in front of the ball, even if he got a yellow card, he wouldn't have brushed right away and gave the ball to Edinho. It's little stuff like that people don't look at it, but I did look at it because I was home and I was like, caralho, pá, por que não ficaste em frente da bola, pá? I was flipping out. And, and that's all I wanted to talk about, these little things. But going back to the Sporting Porto game.
See, you did it the same as me.
That game was actually a very divided 50-50. But I don't know what's going on with the Sporting players. On the 50-50 balls, they were winning a lot more balls, and that pissed me off, and I was stressful. I don't know what's going on. If the whole team is exhausted. We do have more games than Porto, but it's only one game. It's nothing significant. So we look tired. Like they look like they were anticipating us on almost every play. Towards the middle of, that's when we start playing better. And that's when we saw Coates with a header on the crossbar. And then that's when I was like, okay, Sporting now is getting better and better. And, I felt pretty good about that. But I don't know what's going on with our midfield. They look exhausted. So I'm easy. I know they players for the future. They'll grasp JJ's tactics, because we need fresh legs. The talent is there, but I think our players are they're exhausted. Porto wanting more the game than our players, but at the end of the day, so the replays and all that stuff, it was just a lack of exhaustion. They just tired. But besides that, I don't think Porto should have won the game. I don't think they did anything significant. They didn't create a lot of chances. The only chance they created, and that was a ball that we gave him the ball. So, like Tondela, we did basically the same shit. We gave him the ball. Quick enough to redeem that mistake by one of our players of defense. But at the 4th minute, that was a PK. If Nuno Almeida doesn't know what's a PK, he shouldn't be a referee. What kind of shit he's smoking. But that was a PK. Even on Twitter, I put a tweet saying, vai pro caralho, vai pro caralho, vai pro caralho. Because I was really, stressed out. I'm like, what the hell? If that's not a PK. And then we went into penalty kicks. We won, and that was a lottery, and thank you, Patricio. He had the cool to score the last goal, but overall, it was a so-so performance by Sporting. But we need to get better in those second balls against Porto and Benfica. It feel intimidated, and that's all I got to say.
Fair enough. Danny, what do you think of the Sporting Porto game?
Yeah, similar to what Steph said, I think. More so than anything, it was the definition of a game of two halves. I think in the first half we were the better team, maybe not creating as much, but neither was Porto. Aside from that, their goal, but it was clearly offside. We were the better half in the first half. My only issue was we weren't creating enough. There was just that one opportunity where Coentrão, perfect ball from the left-hand side, finds Bruno Fernandes because Bas Dost wasn't anywhere near the box. Finds Bruno Fernandes. He controls it well, brings it down, takes a shot, but Alex Telles was there to block the shot. I think in the second half, without Gelson, we lost a bit of our attacking prowess. Porto in the second half were definitely the better squad without necessarily creating a ton of chances though either. I think at the second half, even though they were the better team, we were the closest ones to scoring from that header from Coates that hit the post, and then luckily, Casillas doesn't even know how he caught that. You know what I mean? They were very fortunate there. We were unfortunate not to score. But overall, I think the game it was a tough game for us because it wasn't even every little thing. There were so many things where the ref would call, and I don't understand what he was looking at. The penalty, I mean, that's a tackle the NFL would be proud of, and even still, then that would be a flag on the field. That's pass interference. It's incredible how they didn't spot that. How that's not even a penalty. I don't understand. Like, the man literally tackled him down, and whatever. I guess he got his karma from getting subbed off, unfortunately, because we want to play the best. But yeah, that's a definite penalty. There was times, especially in the second half, where there was one incident where Marcano, Bas Dost has his back turned to him. He's looking at the ball, or he's trying to play the ball or something. He just passed the ball away, something like that. I can't necessarily remember it. Marcano runs into him, runs to Bas Dost's back, and there's a foul on Sporting. I don't understand what like Steph said. I don't understand what this guy was smoking. He must have been smoking that good shit that they only have in Portugal, and I need to fly out to Portugal to smoke that shit with him, because that is the most absurd call ever. How Philippe left this game without a yellow card, beyond me. How Oliver Torres didn't get a yellow card or even a red card from that sort of punch to the face to I think it was a Cunha or something. I can't remember that. And then, of course, the Marega and Coentrão incident that's obviously being talked about at Twitter. I 100% agree. Coentrão, what he said, which won't be repeated here, but what he said was wrong, and racism has no place in football. And I know UEFA and everybody's trying to get that removed in football, and 100% as it should be. So 100% Coentrão should get a suspension from the league or from the powers that be. But Marega equally should get a similar suspension, because choking a player, having his hands around your neck, violence is not condoned anywhere. You know what I mean? And that's something that's extra. You know what I mean? And so I think both of them deserve a hefty fines at least, or some sort of suspension from both of them from this game. But with that being said, as disgusting as that comment was from Coentrão, I think he was our best player. Well, I guess we'll get into that, but I think he was our best player. He was fantastic. Every attack that we had came from him. And then the penalties, listen, it was, like I said earlier in the show, it was a typical Sporting performance in the penalties. We went 3-2 up, I think, and then for some reason Coates and William shooting a penalty. I love William, don't get me wrong, but I never want to see him shoot another penalty again. He's done one in the Portugal Under-21 European finals against Sweden a few years back. He missed it. We lost the tournament. Last year or 2 years ago, he also shot, I think, 2 penalties that I remember him shooting. He missed both of them. At that point, we could have had Brian Ruiz shooting it instead of Coates. We could have had Monteiro shooting it instead of William, and I think we would have won the game a bit more comfortably. But with that being said, congratulations to Brian Ruiz. I didn't want to see you come on. I even complained, why is Brian Ruiz subbed on? Why don't I put Ristovski? Why not and play him on the wing or sub him off for Piccini? Why not even put Bruno Cesar? Because he always scores in the big games. But you know what? Credit to Brian Ruiz and his 100th appearance for the Sporting in Sporting. He scored the goal. So congratulations, Brian. And of course, Rui Patricio. I can't wait for that statue to be built in front of José Avalar, because he deserves it, not only from the performance in the penalty shootout last night, but just in general. I think it's it's safe to say he's a Sporting legend now. And especially from what he did last night, it was incredible. Throughout the game, he was making big saves. There was one where he was a bit off his line, and I think Abubakar shot it, and he just gets the fingertips to it. There's another one where Ricardo Pereira just cuts open our defense, shoots it, and Patricio's there to save it. And the penalties, of course. So credit to Rui Patricio. An incredible performance last night too.
Yeah, I agree with both of you that it was very even. Even though if you look at the stats, it won't tell you that. But obviously, we know stats. Games aren't played on stats; they're played on results. I felt like we was a much improved side to the our team. It was more improved than when we last played Porto in the league, because as you remember, we were pretty much on the defensive that whole game. Where at least this game we were going forward, we were passing it around carefully. We weren't making any rash decisions. I agree with what you were saying about Coentrao. I thought he was fantastic, but like you said, we'll save that for a couple of minutes. Ruben Ribeiro as well was I know he was getting fouled a lot, but I felt like some of the times he couldn't just stay on his feet he'd get the slightest bit of contact and he'd look for the foul. Whereas I feel like if he just continued running with the ball, he would have been fine. Who else? Like you said, the order of the penalties really confused me, because if we were going in order, why would you put William and Coates? I think was it third and 4 or 4 and 5? That doesn't make sense to me, because the first and the fifth penalties are the most important ones. So we had Bastos in the first one, yeah, obviously that's a great decision. For 5, we should have either had Brian Ruiz or Freddy Montero, not William and Coates, man. That I was watching together with my dad, and we have pretty much, it's like not a rule, but like a myth, I guess, that whenever my dad isn't in the room in penalty shootouts, we always win. So when William took before Coates, right? Or was it the other way around? Coates took before William.
So Coates was 4th, William was 5th.
Yeah. So he left the room when Coates went up, and he missed. Coates obviously missed. He came back, and then Patricia made another save, and then it was William's turn, and then my dad left again, and William missed. So then we switched it up with the next penalty where it was Brian Ruiz. I left the room, and then obviously we scored. So maybe I'm the unlucky charm, but it was always great to win. I hate penalties when you lose, but when you win them, it's the most amazing feeling. Like it's hard to describe when you win on penalties. It's fantastic. But that being said, I give credit to Porto. They played well. I thought we played well. It was like you said, a game of two halves. I was impressed with the tactics from both sides as well. I was very impressed with Battaglia when he came on. William as well. I felt like they both played a vital role in the midfield. Although for a team like Porto, a midfield of William, Battaglia, Ruben Ribeiro doesn't really work as well as it would against some other teams. But it didn't cost us anything, so I'm okay with it. I thought Coates had a fantastic game, making up for the mistakes that he made against Setúbal. He made some fantastic tackles, fantastic blocks. That header, which was so unlucky that it went straight back to Casillas, because we had William and Bastos waiting there to finish it, but of course it just went back into Casillas' hands. But other than that, solid game. From a neutral standpoint, it'd probably be better to watch it. Wouldn't be better to watch it, than a Sporting or Porto fan, especially for us in the result in the end. But that being said, that's all I have got for that game. So much like the Setúbal one, we'll move on to the best performer, the worst performer, and I don't know. I'll ask your prediction for the game on Saturday. And Danny, let's start off with you. Worst performer, best performer, and prediction for the game on Saturday.
My worst performer. I already said my best performer. I think it was Fabio Coentrão. Any sort of attack we had was coming from the left. I think he showed all the garra that we needed. The chance from Bruno Fernandes was all from Coentrão. The chance from Coates was also from Coentrão. I think he's our man of the match. I think the worst performer was probably, Piccini didn't have himself a great game again. Acuna maybe, but I'll give it to Piccini. I wasn't that impressed with Piccini. I know it's a tough task, stopping Brahimi. He's a wonderful player, but I've seen him stop, with the help of Battaglia for sure. But I've seen him even stop Messi. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what's up with his game lately. Maybe it's fatigue. Who knows? But I'll give him the worst performer. And then predictions. I think the Viganza is coming. I think that performance against Stubal that we had on last weekend won't be repeated. I think the players are up for it. Hopefully, they really want to get the revenge because Stubal's been a pain in our ass for the last 2 years, really, last 2 seasons. And I'm gonna go with a nice 3-0, a 3-1. We'll suffer maybe for the first 15 minutes because that's typical Sporting, and then we'll just score 3 in the second half or something. So I'll just say a 3-1 win.
Okay, fair enough. I thought the referee was Porter's man of the match, but we're giving it for Sporting. But I forgot to mention about the referee in the game, and I think it was a tweet from you, Danny. He said he might as well be wearing a Porter jersey because honestly, that's literally how it felt. That Bastos penalty in the 8th minute. Why wasn't VAR used to check it? I have no idea because obviously we proved it will work to the Porto disallowed goal, but that made no sense to me. I think the referee did check because you could hear him talking to his ear. But obviously the people upstairs said it wasn't a penalty, which is stupid. There was that tackle, not really a tackle, but I believe it was on Ruben Ribeiro when I think it was him and Felipe ended up stamping on him. If you look at that, it could even be a red, but he didn't even get a yellow for it. The referee was a very yellow card happy to us, but not to Porto, which, in semi-final games, the referee needs to be 100%, aware what is going on. And credit to the linesman credit to the VAR, for the offside rule, because honestly, I didn't think it was offside at first when I first saw it. I thought it was just a clean goal. But, VAR did a good job in spotting that. But the referee in general was just, it needs to be better for the final. We need a better referee, one who actually calls it down the middle and is fair, which I honestly don't think that referee was in any shape, way or form. But anyway, my best performer, if we're judging it on the whole game, it's got to be for me, Patricia. Just a penalty shootout, fantastic. Even in the game, he's fantastic. You mentioned earlier, Danny, the Abubakar shot from the mistake from, I think, one by William and one by Mateu. Fantastic save. Worst player is a bit harder because I really didn't think anyone played that bad, but for me, it's got to be Ruben Ribeiro. I thought he was pretty useless, didn't really do much, and I think he outstayed his welcome on the pitch. I think he should have been bought off a lot sooner, but the substitution that was made did win us the game in the end, so it's hard to debate that. And then my prediction, I'm gonna go with a 2-0. I don't want any goals conceded. I know, Danny, you wanted to make it realistic with Sporting suffering, but I'd prefer it just to be a 2-0 or a 3-0, just something that doesn't make my heart pound as much as last game did, because Jesus Christ, that penalty shootout, I've never been so more on edge for a long time. I think since the last penalty shootout in the Euros, which I believe was against Poland, I've never been so on edge in a foot match ever. So that's my prediction, a 2-0. Steph,
Fair enough.
who is your best, worst performer, and your prediction for the next game on Saturday?
Okay, so the best performer by far was Rui Patricio. He kept his composure during the game, throughout the 90 minutes, and the PKs, and I couldn't have said it better than JJ when the flash interview was asking him, "Did you feel confident going to the PKs?" He said, "Of course I did. I have the best goalie of the world." So, and he spoke the truth. Rui Patricio, we're lucky to have him. He's a great goalie, and if he does stay in Sporting and end his career in Sporting, without a doubt, he's going to have a statue built in front of our stadium, without a doubt. The worst player, I don't have one. I'm not going to name anybody. I'll say that If I had to name one, I would say Piccini, just because sometimes he doesn't know what to do with the ball. And that drives me nuts. You're a professional soccer player. So when you have no options, what do? You kick the ball against the player, and then it goes out, and then you restart the play. But a couple times yesterday, like Dan said, he didn't know what to do. He lost the ball to Porto players. I would rather him kick the ball against the Porto player, and then you restart the play again. So he needs to. I think he's tired as well because he's been playing every game, and I don't get JJ because we have someone capable like Ristovsky that can actually, give him some rest. So that said, that's what I would do. The referee was awful. You kidding me? I mean, I don't know how many people from England watch the Portuguese games, the league or League Cup. To myself, and actually, my wife, she was watching the game with me, and I was thinking to myself, "Oh my God, the English people, they must be thinking that we don't know how to play football in Portugal."
The referee was, you hear people from like England and Spain and that talk about referees being bad, but I don't think there's any worse officiated league in the entire world than the Portuguese league.
Yeah, I mean that was awful. That was the worst performance from Nuno Almeida I ever seen. He tried to control the game so much he fucked it up actually. And then the yellow cards he didn't show to the Porto players, like Suarez, he played with his hand. Oliver played with his hand. Felipe, you already mentioned that. Marega, as well. Said something in regards to racism. Yeah, he should be giving punishment. I'm not okay with that at all, because you know what? In your own team, you have African players. Marega, you insulting William Carvalho, you insulting Gelson Martins. That's unacceptable. I don't like that. You should be penalized a couple games to cool off a little bit. We're in the 21st century. That's unacceptable. I'm not. William Carvalho, great game, Gelson Martin, kisses and hugs, and then when you need to be a role model, you say shit like that. I'm not okay with that too. That's all I gotta say. I'm glad that we won in PKs, and like you said, Sam, oh my God, I hate PKs because I was so nervous. I was telling my kids to go downstairs in the basement and shut up and don't talk. Even my wife, she was like, "Dinner's ready." I don't give a shit about dinner. I'm watching my soccer game. God damn it! So, I had a couple of beers after that. I drank some tea because my blood pressure was like a 280. And that's all I gotta say, man. I'm glad we made it to the final. My prediction against the Stubble, we're gonna smack them in the ass. 3-0. 3-0. Because we lost that final 10 years ago. So without a doubt, we're going to win against them. The players, they know better. This is a key moment of the championship, even. To do with Liga NOS, but it has a lot to do with it. Because if we win, we gain morale. We got the first trophy of the season, and that will carry us to the rest of the season.
Yeah,
that's it.
Hopefully. I just wanted to put my 2 cents on the Malaga thing because, I agree with both of you. Like, obviously, Cointreau, what he said was wrong. He should be suspended not only, I think, by the league, but I think Sporting needs to take action as well, just to maybe a public statement or something like that. Because, Steph, I agree with you. Imagine, obviously, I can't compare the two situations, but imagine you're in William Carvalho's shoes with Jos Martins. Do you want to play with a guy who says things like that? I wouldn't. I wouldn't consider him my teammate. And I think Cointreau is what, 29, 30 years old. He should know better than to say stuff like that. There are cameras everywhere. Even if he thought he'd get away with it, what's the need? You gave away a foul, and yeah, he might have play acted a bit, but you should know there's just no need for that. type of language, not just in football, but in anywhere in the world. It's just absolutely disgusting. I hope the league does take action against him, and I hope Sporting does release a statement or even suspend him for a game. Or I'm not sure how they can do that with a loan, but hopefully some action is taken. I've just got one more question for both of you, and it involves George Jesus. He said, I think it was either the day of the last podcast or the one after, that he said there'll be more signings coming in, and they'll all be of the cost will be of nothing. So I asked both of you. I'll start with Danny. What position are you hoping George Jesus will improve with a transfer? And if you have a name as well, even better. But just a position.
I mean, thinking of the at no cost, I think Rafinha would be a big addition, especially if it's for the next season, or even Marcelo for the next season at zero cost. I'm hoping that it's also a left back. If we can bring in a left back just to solidify that spot. I don't know how long Jonathan Silva's going to take to recover. Though we did see pictures of him last night at the game, so maybe he's coming back to full fitness faster than what I thought. But yeah, if the Kushtzero, I would love it to be either Rafinha or maybe Marcelo or both. That would be fantastic. And yeah,
I hope it's a left back. I know there's a free agent at the moment by the name of Benoit Tremolinas, who used to play for Sevilla. Is also a Europa League winner. There's also Patrice Evra as well, that is a free agent, but I'm not sure if his suspension is just for the League One or it's for all competitions. So obviously, if it's not, don't worry about that. But I think a left back is a position, especially we need, and like the terms of depth, we need to improve, because when you think about it, if we're looking for next season, we're still not sure if Coentrao re-signed. Jonathan Silva at the moment is injured. Who knows if that could be a recurring injury? Bruno Cesar, I don't think is fit enough to play left back. So hopefully we can get a left back in. But like you said as well, Marcelo and Rafinha, two great players. If we're looking at next season as well, hopefully them two are brought in. But honestly, the only position I'd like to see improved at the moment is a left back. Steph, what positions were you hoping that George Jesus would improve?
Yeah, most definitely the left back position, because Jonathan Silva is already running, but to begin with him and all that, it's going to take him basically, a while. I mean, we're talking about the Liga NOS, usually the end of it is May. If we go far in the Liga Europa, usually it's around May as well. Everything ends in May. That's the decision making of all the competitions, and then here comes the World Cup. So the left back, if Rafinha comes, we need a winger. But if he doesn't come now, we need a winger, and we saw it now. Gelson Martins is not going to play in the final Spanish game, and he might miss the Clásico on the 7th of February because he's really hurt, and they've been anticipating this. They've been saying we're going to take care of him. He's been basically saying 100%, just slightly, to prevent the injury. So who's going to step up for him? Podence? Maybe, but Podence is not as talented as he is. Rafinha has shown that he is fast, and he could actually be a good option for Gelson Martins. So me personally, the Sporting administration, recognizing that Gelson Martins will be out for a while, they're going to call Guimarães and give them a sweet deal to see if they can Rafinha come now, because we need him now. Let's be honest. That's it. I mean, we got a striker. We got Wendo. We got Bruno Ribeiro. Me personally, I like him. He shows a lot of experience. He has, and also a Macaco. You could see that he has the melandris that he needs. So I'm content with everything else. It just, I'm hoping that JJ, like you guys mentioned it before, patient and sooner with the substitutions. Don't wait until the last minutes of the game, because when you put someone on the pitch at minute 70 from minute 86, because now that player still could be significant, could be decisive, and he has 20 minutes to actually engage into the game, gain the rhythm, and be a decision maker. At the 86th minute, he's just burning time, losing the game. We're not stupid. We've watched so many football games, but that's all I gotta say. And then the next game for Liga NOS, it's against Vitória de Guimarães.
Okay, I was actually going to ask you, Steph. I know you're driving, but the sporting universe? Have you got anything on the top of your head that you could give us quickly, or?
Yes, I do. So I have a couple things that it's significant. I had more, but I'm not home. So,
Yeah.
but Joaquim Patins, Sporting, they won against Oliveirense 9-1. And why is this significant? Because that's one of the top teams of Portugal. We lost at the Caixa do Dragão against Porto 2-1 in a very, very we didn't deserve to lose, but we did. It was just by 2-1, nothing significant. Because of that loss, we lost our first place, but we bounced back against Oliveirense and we won, and now in second place, just 1 point behind Benfica. But a perspective to our listeners and followers. Sporting just came back a few years ago. When we played against Benfica in Porto, we used to lose 6-1, 5-1, or 6-3. Now it's close matches. We tied against Benfica 1-1. We lost against Porto 2-1. It's not the end of the world. So our Joaquim Patins is much, much, much better, even though I didn't like to lose against Porto, believe me. Still very strong. The next game they have, it's a decisive one against Braga. If we tie against them, that's good. We'll keep the distance, which is 5 points. They're still in first place. Handball, we won yesterday against São Bernardo. That's a team from my hometown, actually, from Aveiro. We won and we smacked them pretty bad. Volleyball, we're still in first place. And I think we're playing now. We have also the table tennis in the quarterfinals, which they have a game. I believe it's today as well. I don't know the score, but I'll check later, and then I'll post it on Twitter. Overall, the youth is doing pretty good. The U19, they had a slump. They lost a couple games, but now they back and running. Nothing significant because in their division, 4 teams will qualify for the final decisive championship to win the Portuguese title. So they can sleep up now and learn from their mistakes before they get into the last phase of the championship, the Portuguese league. And besides that, futsal, we lost against Benfica, but we deserve to lose. They played better than us in the Cup League, without any doubt. I didn't like it, but you know what? It's of 63 games without losing. We couldn't expect that to last forever. I didn't like it because it was against the rival and the final, so that's hard to swallow. But Benfica played better. That's the end of it. But they still have the which is similar to the Champions League. They're in the final 4. We have Taça Portugal, and then we have the Portuguese League, which I know for sure they will shine. That's all I have.
All right, Steph, thank you for that. And I believe that draws us to the end of this episode. Thank you all for tuning in. It was a week of up and downs. Obviously, the draw against Jabal and the win against Porto, on to the next game against Saturday, which hopefully we win, and we win our first, hopefully not last silverware of the season. So as again, thank you all for joining us, and see you next time. Peace.
Viva